to learn, put your mind to.
If you don't wake up with determination and go to sleep with satisfaction, you are doing life wrong. Boom, okay. Today what are we doing? Today we're doing something new in financial maths that you haven't done yet, which is future value. So today we'll be doing future value. What is future value, you ask? Future value is like investments, right? It's like an investment or putting money into your savings account, like a sinking fund, right? Sinking fund, basically what a sinking fund is when you set up a savings account where you put money in monthly or quarterly or however often, saving for a specific goal, saving for when you want to replace a specific item. Let's say you want to replace your car after a couple of years. So you put in a specific amount of money into our accounts so that when you get to that time when you need to buy a new car, right, you have taken into account the amount that it will be. Okay, cut. So it will replace that the value, the item that you have with the amount that you've been saving for, right? Okay, so let's look at the formula for future value, right? Let's look at the formula that you'll be using. You'll be seeing a lot during all the new financial maths problems and questions, right? What's the formula? The formula looks like this. This is future value. Just write this at the top. Yeah, don't question my R. My R is perfect if you ask me. So F is equal to X, then we have the bracket, and then we have 1 plus I to the power of n minus 1, big bracket, over what I is, right? So what does my formula read? It reads X multiplied into the bracket of, into a smaller bracket, 1 plus I to the power of n minus 1 divided by I. The same I that's at the top is the same I that's at the bottom, right? So what are these variables? The variables, F is the future value. Okay, let me write it down. F is the future value. So it's the value that your investment will be in the end of the duration of however long you want to save for, right? And then what's next? What is X? X is the set number of monthly payments or installments that you'll be making. So you have to make a payment every month. That's your commitment to say, I'll make 200 Rand, I'll put 200 Rand into my savings account every month for the next 2 years per se, right? So X is installments. And again, it doesn't have to be monthly. It could be quarterly. It could be semi-annually. Right? So X, that's X, right? What is I? I is the interest rate. We already know that. What is N? N is the number of payments that you make. But N this time around is not years. N is equal to, it's equal to whatever duration, like let's say monthly, right? Monthly, it'll be 12 times however long. So it'll be 12 times, let's say for a duration of 12 years. I mean, yeah. So it'll be 12 times 12, right? If they say quarterly, right, you are making quarterly payments, it'll be 4 times however long you're saving for, however many years you're saving for, because N is the number of payments that you have to make. The number of payments. So the number of payments or installments. So that's what it is. It will never be. N is not years. N is the number of payments. So if your interest rate is if you are making payments every month, it'll be how many payments do you make in a year? You make 12 because it's monthly, right? If it's quarterly, you make 4 payments, right? So this will be 4. But if you say you're doing it for 2 years and you are putting payments every month, what's the total of what will N will be? N will be 12 times 2, which will be 24, right? So now as we have that, let's do an example, right? One thing to note when doing financial maths, do not round off until the end, because your value will be different to that of the one that's in the memo. And if it's different from that, you might get them out wrong. right? So you don't want that. You want to get marked wrong for things that you know. So don't round off until the end. Keep the answer in your calculator. Get everything to one. My trick is easy. You have to believe me when I say this. You know what the trick is? Do as many past papers as you can, because that increases the chances of you doing well and getting a good final year mark. Do as many past papers as you can. I don't mean go look at the answer and write it down on a piece of paper. No, I mean understand. Do every question and understand what you are doing. You might have to go look at the answer to understand, but as long as you understand at the end of it. Do as many past papers as you can without actually calculating it, and then put everything into your calculator. So let's do an example. Example 1. Okay, so the question is, Donald deposits 500 Rand into a savings account monthly, right? The interest rate is 13% per annum compounded monthly. How much will he have in his account after 10 years? Right? At the end of 10 years, how much does he have in his account? That's what we want to find. Because he wants to save, let's say he wants to save to invest in a business, let's say. So this is how long he's saving for 10 years, and he's putting 500 Rand into a savings account monthly at a rate of 13% compounded monthly. So what do we do first? What do? We get the formula, right? As soon as you see deposit monthly or deposits quarterly, you know that you're going to have to use future value formula. So let's write the future value formula and then we work from there. One plus I to the power of n minus 1, right? Divided by I. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this formula is given to you. But again, it's good to have this committed to your memory so that when you see the question, you don't have to go page to the back to go see the formula. You can just already remember it and write it down like that. So now let's start. What's the first thing we need to do? What do we know? We know X, right? What is X? It's the monthly payments. What is the installments? The installment, they told us, now makes installments of 500 Rand. Right? So now let's write what's on the inside. 1 plus I. What is the interest rate? The interest rate is 13%. But it's 13% monthly. So this will be 0.13 over 12 to the power of. What is N? N again is not the number of years. So I can't write 10 over there because he doesn't make 10 payments. In those 10 years, he makes 12 times 10 payments. Right? Because he makes a payment every month. So in a year, he makes 12. So in 10 years, he makes 120. So this will be 12 times 10. Right? Minus 1. Close the bracket. At the bottom, I is the same in the one in the top bracket. So we have 0.13 over 12. And that's basically it. You could get a question just like this in your exam paper. And that's 5, 4, 3, whatever multi-allocation they have there for free. For free. Why would you not take it if it's for free? Okay, so what do you do now? Put on your calculator. Don't be fancy. Don't be clever. Just put everything in your calculator and see what answer it gets you. My value that I got was 12018.46. So, I'm not going to read that number out. But that's the value that he gets. He gets 12018.46 Rand. That's what he has at the end of 10 years in his savings account. So can he invest in a business? Of course he can. You can invest in a business starting with whatever amount you want. So this is the amount that he has after 10 years, and he can do whatever he wants now. So that's the answer. That's the final answer. That's basically it, right? So now, let's say in this question, right, they could ask you stuff like the sinking fund. A sinking fund, when they ask you a sinking fund, right, it's a matter, the formula is, okay, so sinking fund, we spoke about this a little earlier. What did I say about a sinking fund? I said a sinking fund is the amount that you need to replace a device, an old device or an old item. right? So the formula to find when they say what is the sinking fund of whatever, right? The cost, the formula is cost of new item, the cost of what does it cost in after 5 years to get that item, and what does it cost now. So if let's say I'm working with a car, right? The cost of a car right now is, let's say, 100,000. But in 2 years' time, the car would be 200,000. Right? Let's say we did the calculation, that's what we got. So the cost, the sinking fund value would be the cost of the item, the new item, which would be 200,000 in 2 years' time, minus the cost of the old item, that is 100,000 right now. So the amount that I will need to save would be 100,000. That's the amount, that's the goal that I will have to save for, right? That's the sinking fund. To fund for the new item, right? The remainder of whatever amount you need to fill up to get the new one. Right? So let's do an example so that we understand what I'm talking about. Okay, let's look at this example that might come up in one of your papers, right? Example 2, right? My example, right, it says, let's say it's, deposit 20,000 in a new savings account in January, but only wants to start payments in March at a 12% per annum compounded monthly, right? So what this says is, the person, what Tino wants to do, he doesn't want to make monthly payments for this first 2 months, right? Because in January, that's when he deposits 20,000, right? So he only wants to start his monthly installments or payments in March. So of course, the amount that they don't start looking at interest the first month. So you skip the first month. So there's only 2 months where there's no monthly installments. So if there's no monthly installments, that value still gets an interest, but it's not future value interest because there's no new value per month, but it gets compounded monthly. So how many months? Let's write the formula. A is equal to P1 plus I to the power of N, right? So what do we put in our formula? We put in our formula P, which is 20,000, 1 plus I. What's the percentage? The interest rate, it's 0.12 over 12 to the power of. Okay, now to the power of, how many payments how long is the duration of this whole process? It's 2 months, right? He only misses 2 months where the money is just sitting in the account with nothing being done. So this would be 2 because there's only 2 months where there's no action, there's no activity in the account. So once we have that, we find the value is equal to 20402. So after 2 months of inactivity, or 3 months of inactivity, 2 months in no activity, which is January and February, there's nothing happening. He starts making payments in March. So the money is just sitting there. This is the amount that you have at the beginning of March when he makes his first payment. So when he makes his first payments, monthly payment, it will be to this value, not to the original value, 20,000. It will be 20,402, right? So the future value formula would now be F is equal to 20,402 multiplied by the future value formula. So X, whatever the amount is making per month, whatever monthly payment is installment is, plus 0.12 over 12 to the power of the duration, however many payments is making, over 0.12 over 12, right? So this is just a conceptual question. I didn't put all the variables in this. But what it's saying is, when someone starts off on a big, huge amount, right? They didn't start from zero. The other ones, they started from zero. That's why this number didn't exist. But since this one, he deposits 20,000 first and then starts making monthly payments, we have to multiply that future value formula with the initial value that it starts with, which is 20,402, because it's only initial value formula because he only starts making payments at the second month in March. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Boom.